So Ann, you're telling me this is what you started with?
Yeah, dude, 4 years ago, our entire farm looked like this.
But you can't even like stick your finger in this stuff.
You can really grow just about anything in any soil. Let's go take a look at the garden and I'll show you what I've done for the last 4 years to totally transform this place. We're here in my garden in Tennessee at the beginning of the gardening season. I've invited a soil expert, Karson from Redmond Minerals, to come and talk about soil and getting your garden started right. Because the healthiest plants, the most nutritious things that we can feed our families start with the soil, right?
Correct. Let's take a look at your soil.
Let's do it.
Holy cow, Ann. The difference is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it is completely different than what we were looking at there. This must have taken so much work. How did you do this?
Honestly, I try to be as hands-off with my gardening as possible. And I think the true secret to my laziness is over here. Can I take you on a little field trip?
Yeah, I love field trips.
Let's go. We're in the middle of the forest behind my house. There's daffodils blooming everywhere. This is gorgeous, but far more important than the blooming flowers is actually what's underneath. So if we come down here and just start peeling back, no one is weeding or watering or planting anything here. Nature is just doing what nature does. Like right on top of everything, there's leaves. And you can hear they're crunchy, they're dry. It's obviously not rained in a while, but if we literally just go back, like right under those crunchy leaves is a bunch of other organic material. It's already broken down, it's a little bit moist, but if we keep peeling back the layers here, we soon get to actually some kind of clay soil, similar to the clay we saw in the field, but the difference is that it's wet and that it has life in it.
Yeah, you can see that this is really healthy soil, especially for no one taking care of it. You know, it's just what nature does, is creates healthy soil.
No one is coming out here and putting bags of organic fertilizer. I mean, like you can even look, like in these leaves, there's bug holes. Like no one's out here spraying organic pesticide. And what thrives. I love these daffodils because they literally, like, they spread. Daffodils make bulbs, and then a healthy daffodil plant will make more bulbs, and they literally will force the soil out of the way, and like, you can just literally have runs of miles of daffodils like we have here, which is so dang cool. But amongst the daffodils, we also have, you know, other stuff. This guy. Again, I just like pulled this right out of the ground, and look at how easily those roots came up out of the soil. Like those are deep roots that are going to be able to go and get water from deep in the soil, but like, you know, the soil hasn't compacted around the plant either. What
I love about it is there's so much diversity too in the plants. It might look like we're sitting in a field of daffodils, but you look and there's all sorts of different plants. There's all, you know, it's all covered. It's really amazing. So Karson, I am a successful lazy gardener, but you've been on the science side of soil and like conventional farming your entire career. So let's walk around and you can tell me what you see. Perfect. So, Ann, one of the coolest things that I'm seeing is there's no dirt here, right? Like you can't see bare dirt anywhere you look. No, and if you looked back at what we thought a successful garden would be, it's usually a garden that is like just bare dirt, no weeds, and the plants that you planted in a very specific spot. Totally. So that's one of the cool things I'm seeing here in the forest. I don't see dirt. Yeah. There's ground cover everywhere. Yeah, and that just literally happens naturally. Like here we're under trees where the leaves fall down, and that creates natural mold. So like here, it's like, yeah, there may be nothing growing right now, but you literally have to peel back layers to where you can then see bare soil. But what's wild is that, like, if I expose this soil and we walk away and we leave it, nature will heal itself without me. It's crazy. And one of the other things that's really cool that I'm seeing, if you look here, there's so much going on that's going to be maybe even hard to see on the camera, but there's little bugs moving around, you know, and that's usually what we're doing in gardens. We're trying to get rid of every bug, you know, or every sign of life. This is amazing, the things that nature's doing here. Yeah, here's a snail shell. In conventional gardening, I would be like, get out of here. Right. What kind of chemical could we put on you to make sure you're gone, right? Exactly. But the thing is that in nature,
every pest plays a part.
Right, every insect, every bacteria, every fungus has a purpose.
Yeah.
And so trying to like get rid of it might not be the best solution. It might be like, let's fix the problem.
Yeah. First of all, like water evaporation off the soil. Like the reason we have to water our gardens, I don't, by the way, is because like we've created bare soil and water evaporates off of bare soil so quickly. But like literally all you have to do is just cover it up with some leaves or mulch of some kind, and then it will keep the sun from directly beating down on that black surface and evaporating the moisture off the surface. So again, does my garden look like something from Better Homes and Garden? Absolutely not, but I'm growing enough food for 2 families in a tiny amount of space, literally because I've learned how to work with the pests instead of even thinking that they're pests.
It's pretty cool.
So knowing more about your background too, you used to do like chemical spraying and everything like that, and you've since kind of like changed your tune. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that. When I used to work in that industry, we always focused more on inputs and taking care of things and killing the things we don't want.
And by inputs, you mean like chemical fertilizers?
Chemical fertilizer, chemicals like pesticides, herbicides, any kind of sides, as Will Winters would say, right? So instead of doing that, I've now taken the approach of like, let's fix the soil and then everything will actually fix itself.
Yeah.
And I've had way more success with that. And I think it's actually a better way to live your life. Instead of worrying about like killing everything, let's worry about healing everything.
I love that. I love that. I think like the words bacteria and fungus have such a negative connotation in our language, but truly, it is literally by learning how to use bacteria and fungus to our advantage instead of actually just sterilizing everything that actually makes this stuff work. And let's walk and talk here, because I'm looking for something in particular.
Okay.
But something that was truly fascinating to me. I've always thought like doubling our yields is going to make us money in the short term. But what I didn't realize until we started talking was how expensive it actually is to add the chemicals or, even organic solutions that will double your yields.
Yeah, it's not cheaper to use the conventional methods. It's cheaper to be a lazy gardener. Oh,
like I have basically nothing in any of my plants or anything. I mean, I'm constantly stealing stuff from the forest and using it at my house.
Right, and even on the time savings, like you're not running a tiller, you're not going to the co-op and buying more chemicals.
I don't have to buy gas for the tiller that I don't use.
It's pretty amazing what you can do when you're just working with nature.
Totally. Cool. Hey, check this out over here. So this is something that I think confuses a lot of beginner gardeners. This looks like soil, right?
Correct.
Like this looks like what, we've learned on YouTube or reading gardening books or anything. This is what like good compost looks like. This looks like black, healthy soil. But there's actually a problem with it. This is actually literally just rotten wood. This is the inside of a log that has decomposed because it's sat here in nature long enough for nature to take its course. So if I were to look at just this, or if I was looking at compost or mulch or soil at a big home store and I was looking to take that home and put it in my garden, how could I know that this was not actually like viable until I'd put plants in it and then gone an entire season and then my plants didn't work out?
So in the past, all you could do is simply what you're saying. Just go put it on your plants and hope it worked. But now we've actually come up with a really cool test that you can actually test your compost, your mulch, and your soil to make sure you're actually amending the right things.
This is something I'm so excited about for beginner gardeners or advanced gardeners, because while I personally am really interested in the science, I think that science can kind of get in the way of people feeling like gardening is as easy as it actually is. For 12 years, I told people don't bother with soil tests because the tests that we used to have access to, like, literally didn't give us any actual useful information. You guys just developed a test that literally will test exactly what's available to your plant in whatever you have, not just like what might be there that a plant might not be able to use.
Correct. Like most soil tests, you'd either get a piece of paper and you'd be like, okay, I have no clue how to use this information, or it would be almost too basic when you're like, okay, now I know my pH and that's it.
Yeah, and even just for anyone here who's ever been confused by soil pH, let me just tell you right now that like using a pH test to test your soil is a quick way to ruin your garden in a hurry, because you could add a whole lot of stuff that's really expensive to buy, even organically, and fix the pH without actually fixing what's available to your soil. So let's go back to the farm and take some tests.
Let's see how you've done.
All right, Karson, before we actually leave, every time I come back to the forest, I take some leaves with me, because leaves are like the best cheap free mulch. They break down really quickly and they add a lot of just like layers of good stuff to the soil. There's actually a bunch of weeds that I don't want in these leaves, so we'll just pop back here where there's less and get some of these.
Perfect.
Oh, look at all this mycelium. Woo! Oh, this is what we want to take back to the garden. All right, Karson, we'll take our bounty from the woods. Howdy, this is not a snack for you, although I'm sure you'll try to sample it. Don't trip on my tripwire.
Okay, I'll try not to.
Hey, John, it's just me, buddy. All right, Karson, truly, I think that like there are a few things that make my garden really work. Like one of them is definitely compost. This is like your classic 3-bin system. You've probably seen stuff like this. There's nothing fancy or different about mine, except that I just kind of try to understand some simple science. It's like compost comes down to greens and browns. Greens are anything that was recently alive or inside a living thing, so manure, you know, green vegetables, anything else, and browns are literally things that used to be alive and now aren't. So like dead tree parts, sawdust, straw, newspapers, cardboard, leaves, and you know, there's all kinds of stuff in here. Wood chips, ash from my fireplace, all kinds of donkey manure and other flavored manure, kitchen scraps, wood chips or wood shavings from the wood shop, eggshells, spent hay that the cows have wasted. All right, here we are in some finished compost, and we know it's done because there's nothing recognizable. But like, even look at this, we've got some worms, bugs, again, lots of living things down here. And I mean, this looks like my garden soil. You got your test kit ready, young man?
We got the test kit.
I'm gonna add my soil. So we'll just grab this, nice level scoop there. And I'm not going to pour out the water inside. I'm just gonna go like this. Perfect. Self-addressed stamped envelope, that's my dream. My gosh, the things that have sat in my glove box for like 7 years waiting for the stamp. Okay, so we've got this on lock. Let's go test the garden. All right, Karson, while I prance around and grab a couple samples, why don't you tell everyone what's gonna happen with this?
Perfect. So you're gonna register your test online, send it in, and when your results come back, it comes back with an option to be able to see like chemical fertilizers that you want to use, organic fertilizers you want to use, or we can give you some options on how to just amend your soil the natural way. And that's why it's a great tool to actually test your compost, so you can compare your compost to what your soil has going on and kind of make a match that way.
I think it's important to mention I'm not sponsored by Redmond. I literally just wanted to nerd out with another soil scientist. And I also wanted to tell you that like this took 4 years. It took 4 years of observation and careful planning and knowledge that I'd gained over the last decade to be able to create this. But you can do this really quickly. You don't need chemicals, you don't need organic fertilizers or pesticides or fungicides. You need to look at how nature takes care of itself. And what will be revealed in this test will help you to get the secret weapon to fast forward your process. So that if you're buying soil and starting your garden for the first time this year, it's there. Like you can have this kind of result in year 1. If you are starting a garden for the first time and you want to fast forward your way to success, check out my Lazy Gardener's Beginner Guide on my Squarespace website, annofalltrades.com. Squarespace has been supporting my channel for the last 5 years, making videos like this free for you to watch and possible for me to make. I'm a farmer. I am not super tech savvy, so having a beautiful artist design template that I can easily drag and drop anything that I want to share with you and then share it with you is hugely important to me. Squarespace gives me the option to have an online store where I can sell my online classes, my merchandise, keep you updated about what's going on with the School of All Trades. And if you're interested in starting a website of your own, you have a big idea you want to share with the world, check out Squarespace. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/AnnaofAllTrades for a 10% discount. And if you are just started gardening or you've been doing it for a while and you're kind of stuck and need a little extra help or accountability, or you want to meet some other gardening friends around you, be on the lookout for my lazy gardening course, which will happen in real time throughout this growing season on my Squarespace website. Future Ann popping in here to let you know that I just got my soil test results back from Redmond Minerals, and it was exactly what this very nerdy heart needed. A little validation and cold hard data to look at. If you've seen any of the videos that I've posted in this garden in peak growing season, it probably is not that surprising to find out that my soil is in fact very well balanced. But in going over my test results, Karson recommended that I run a few experiments in the garden this year with a couple different products. So I'm gonna put this in a couple garden beds, and I'm gonna put this in a couple other garden beds, and then I'm gonna keep doing what I've been doing in some others, and I will report back as we go. I have more than a sneaking suspicion that if you were to add either one of these products here to your garden, it will probably be a whole lot more helpful than any other chemical, organic approved or not, that you could add to your garden. So let's grow good food together this year. I hope you stay tuned, and I will definitely be reporting back on the results of this next experiment soon. Cheers!